In this video, we're going to talk about the communication problem that no one talks about and why highly intelligent people still struggle in their life with communication. In over the past 30 years of coaching, and now I'm 77 years old, as a mother, a grandmother, and a woman who's lived a full life, there's something I see over and over again. Lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs, highly educated and capable people are still struggling. They're struggling with their marriages. They're struggling with their businesses. They're struggling with their employees. They're struggling in their work. They're struggling with their income. And they're quietly struggling with themselves about communication. And what surprises me is that it's rarely because they're not intelligent. It's because they don't know how to communicate. And you know what's even more surprising than that? Most of the time, people spend their time learning their profession, but they spend no time learning how to communicate. And they have to communicate in their businesses, with their employees, with their clients. So even though they're successful, their relationships, their leadership, and their income depends on them being very good at communication. And yet people don't know how to do it. So in this video, I want to show you why this is happening and what you can do and what you can begin to do about it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the problem that's hidden that most people don't see, because most people don't realize that their frustration is not coming from the circumstances around them, but it's coming from their communication, the things we say. That people don't hear what they say. They explain, they're misunderstood, or then sometimes they just feel quiet. They say they're dumb, they're stupid, they don't understand, and then they feel resentful. All over this time, this frustration and tension is building up. And especially in marriages, it becomes a distance. And with children, it becomes a disconnection. And at work, it becomes missed income and missed opportunities. So people say, my partner doesn't understand me. Is it a business partner, or is it a marital partner, or a romantic partner, or my team didn't listen? It's like all these people didn't hear what I said. I was very clear, but no one understood what I said. So no one pointing the finger out there, but they're not saying could I have communicated it better so they could understand me? Or they might say my clients are difficult. My clients are difficult because they don't listen to what I'm saying. I am not saying that there isn't a problem about listening, but since you depend on the result of them hearing you, what you can do is work and understand that maybe how you're communicating is not working. So most of us have not been taught how to communicate clearly, directly, and truthfully. So now let's talk about where your communication was formed, about your invisible rule. Now, I'm going to tell you, we're going to go to look at what's going on with your communication somewhere that most people won't look, because they're so busy focusing on why people are not hearing what you're saying. Why isn't my spouse listening? Why aren't they listening? But let's go back to where your communication was first formed. Your communication was not formed at school or in your career, but it was formed in your childhood. And because as children, we're not just learning words, we're learning what's safe to say, when it's safe to say it, and we're learning to speak or we're learning to be quiet. All depends on what's going on in the household. And so when that happens, we form what I call an invisible rule. The rule tells you, okay, in my house, this is how it's done. We stay quiet, or in my house, we don't talk unless we get angry, or in our house, we just pretend like it's okay. So if you have a rule that says to be safe, this is what I can say and this is what I cannot say, and this is how I survive, you are going to follow that rule in your communication. And you know what? You didn't choose that rule. It gets formed for you clearly by your own family. I'll give you an example. My father was a very strict disciplinarian. He was also an authoritarian, and he was also a little mean. So when he called for my brothers to speak, it was never at a safe moment. Usually, because he worked 2 jobs, he was never home. But when he had interaction with them, usually he had a belt in his hand. And whatever they said could be used against them. So what did they learn? They learned to be quiet. They learned to not say what they really thought. In our house, you couldn't even look like you were hurt or something like that. And they would say you were rolling your eyes, and you could get another spanking or beating or hit because you were not smiling or looking however it is they wanted you to look while you were getting this punishment. So anyway, back to my brothers. They formed a rule that speaking clearly or telling it like it is or telling the truth is dangerous. It's safer to hold back and don't say too much. They carried that into adulthood. So now they're grown men, they're intelligent men, they were capable men, but guess what? They still mumbled like they were children. Not because they didn't know what to say, But because when they learn to communicate, their invisible rule is still running. And this is what people do not understand. You're not just communicating from the present, you're communicating from a rule that was formed long ago. If you grew up in a home where you were interrupted, or you were corrected, or you were ignored, or you were punished for speaking honestly, then you formed a rule too. Maybe you have a rule that says I have to be careful. I shouldn't say too much, or I need to explain myself, so I won't, otherwise I won't be misunderstood. As an adult, you're not just speaking, you're following whatever rule it is. So when you're in a meeting, you're in a relationship, or you're trying to say something important, part of you wants to be clear, but part of you wants to be safe. So that's what happens when you form the invisible rule. So that's not the real problem. That's the cause. But what does it cost you? This costs you clarity. It costs you the ability to really speak your truth and to communicate in a way that helps you to be more successful, to be a better leader, to be a better husband or wife, to be a better parent, to be a better friend. I have seen so many brilliant professionals lose opportunity, not because they couldn't express themselves by thinking clearly. I've seen their relationships slowly break down, not because there was no love, it was not because they didn't care, it's because there was no clear communication, no permission. It's just like in my situation with my father. Could my brothers say, I think you're a bully to their father or our father, or say, you just hurt me, or you were brutal, or could they say that? They couldn't. So we learned, we can't really say how it is. So most of us learn how to communicate in a phony way. Let's just face it. We're phony communicators. We're phony with ourselves. We don't tell ourselves the truth. We're phony in our relationship with our spouse. We're phony in our relationship with our partner. We're phony in our relationship with our children. We teach our children that they too need to be phony. So the important things are never said. Relationships break apart. People go to divorce court, all because the important things were not said. And there was no permission to say the truth. If you say the truth, okay, now I'm going to break up with you, or now I'm going to divorce you. And the hardest part about this is people blame themselves. They think something's wrong with me, and then they blame the other. But the word blame needs to get out of the picture, because it's people not communicating with each other. So this is a skill and an awareness about where does your communication come. So what most people don't see, I want you to understand this, is communication is not just about words. Communication is about how you think. Before the words come out of your mouth, they have to come through your head first, between your ears, whatever it is you communicate, and then it filters down, and also then it's about what you believe. If you believe it's safe to say something, then you'll say something. You can be with a client, a potential client, and if you're talking to them, their radar tells them, boy, this person is phony. They're not telling me the truth. They're saying whatever they need to say to get what they want. And that's what happens. We're saying what we think other people want us to say rather than saying the truth. It's so rare in this world for someone to be out in the world and to actually be authentic. And most of us do not feel safe telling the truth. Maybe we built a society around people who don't tell the truth. You will always adjust your message. And when you adjust your message, you're being phony. You can weaken your position. You can lose a sale. You can lose a relationship. So the issue is not just learning what to say. It's understanding what is shaping what you say and what you believe about what you say. And so this is where we begin to talk about something deeper, and that is the invisible rule. Stay tuned for our next, and we'll talk about more, because you are not struggling just with communication. You're communicating through an old pattern that was formed long ago. And until you see that, you're going to keep repeating the same frustration. So in the next video, I'm going to show you what the invisible rule is, how it was formed, and how it can be controlling your life, your communication, your bank balance. And once you see it, you'll begin to understand yourself in a completely different way. So for now, just notice this. Where are you in your life not saying what you really mean? And I'm going to be a little bold here. When are you being phony? And this is your work until you see our next video.